Hi everyone, thanks for checking out another live stream. We had some technical difficulties. Hopefully this is resolved right now. Hi everyone, thanks for checking out another live stream. We had some technical difficulties. Hopefully this is resolved right now. It is resolved. That's good to know. Let me just keep this on in the background just to see if things are going well. As I say in my previous video, I'm quite busy at the moment. I'm studying for my certificates, IT certifications. Um, for me, the easiest and the quickest way is to make a live stream. And actually, to my surprise, live streams are more popular than buying videos, buying review videos. But over time, buying reviews, because of the search engine optimization on the internet, is more successful. But I still want to make some content from time to time. So here I am on a Friday afternoon, just taking a small moment just to make a video. And today we're going to talk about a very special car, a Volvo S60. And the generation that I'm going to talk about today is the one that was released in 2000 and that ran to 2012, I suppose. And it had a facelift in the middle. While my brother has a 2004 Volvo S60 2.4 170 horsepower summum version of the S60. So I know what kind of car it is, and it's nice. It's really an underdog. When you sit in the car and you get to enjoy it, you can really tell it's built very sturdy. The chairs in the car they are amazing. They're fantastic. They're probably better than what you have in your living room. They are heated. The leather is still, after all those years, pretty good because actually this year, that car of his, turns 20, and that's for a car it's quite old, but you don't really see that. Of course, he did some maintenance here and there. The car is also not super cheap when it comes to maintenance, but when you appreciate a car that much, and it's really an old school Volvo still, because it is really like a Volvo that is built, designed, everything is Volvo, not like my S40, because it has some Ford parts in there for Moco, Ford Motor Company, and Volvo were together at that moment. So I basically have a Ford Focus with a Volvo engine, which I'm not ungrateful for because it drives fantastic. The heart is from Volvo. But when you talk about the S60, this is really the era that is just, yeah, one of the last real Volvos, I would say. The Volvo is quite popular in Europe, especially in the Netherlands and especially in Northern Europe. I consider the Netherlands also be part of Northern Europe, of course. It's a great alternative to a C-Class, a 3 Series, and an A4 from Audi. I like the underdog position of the Volvo, and there's nothing to be ashamed about when driving a Volvo. It always has kind of this stereotypical view that older people drive in it, but that also makes sure that the previous owner came from wisdom and didn't beat on those cars. Even though if you beat on these cars, they will probably still last, because that's just the way it is, especially these 5 cylinders. But this car had a few engines for sale, but we're gonna go into the the Volvos from that era, so the early 2000s basically. Volvo S60, and the S60 is, I don't think it's built anymore. We had a couple of generations, but I don't think it's in production anymore. The cross country is just let me just check. This is probably, is this a, yeah, okay. So this is what, 2015, so they still built it back then, but that's also 9 years ago. Just for entertainment purposes, and I hope this website loads. Come on. Great. Yeah, okay. This looks a bit ridiculous. It's just a sedan that's higher up. It can go into the field if needed. Really typical Volvo interior of, the early 2010s. Nothing wrong with it. Here, the seats, you look at this, it looks fantastic. But okay, this is 2015. I'm not looking for this. It's so easy to get off track in these videos because of enthusiasm. Let's just go to the S60. Yes, here we are. No budget because you get the largest group of cars in the Netherlands. We're gonna continue. We are gonna go to the low-hanging fruit, see what is possible. So here you have a 2001. This car was introduced in 2000 here in Europe. And this car is the 2.4, which is the 5-cylinder, and I think this is the 140 horsepower version. But there was a mechanic once that said that this is one of the best engines built when it comes to cars. So taking in consideration the American cars, the Asian cars, and the European cars, this still, from this era being a European car, this is one of the best engines you can buy in Europe. It's a 2.4 5-cylinder, so displacement is quite high, but the power output is quite low. So that means that this engine doesn't need to work that hard. But this has quite a lot of kilometers on it already. But what do you expect to buy for €1,000? Still a car that will probably drive and take you anywhere you want, but you're gonna need to have some work on it. This license plate is definitely not from 2001, so that's kind of a red flag already. So it's an import car, I suppose. I don't know what this is. Pannenkoek. It could be a curse word. It could also be the name of a restaurant or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, okay. It's used. Let's put it at that. But what do you expect? And it is the 170 horsepower version of the 5-cylinder. They came in either 140 or 170. I think actually it's a software tweak of the ECU that made that possible. So with different kind of tune on the engine, you could extract 30 horsepower more. I'm thinking of doing that with my S40 as well. Yeah, I might do it because I'm planning on keeping that car anyway, and it has now 187,000 kilometers on the clock, which for Volvo and for that engine is not a whole lot. So I might still do it, and if I do, of course, I make a video of it. But I'm contemplating this. This car runs on liquid petroleum gas, so no gasoline or anything like this. That's a very cheap way of driving. Those 5-cylinders are very resilient. They also drive quite great on gas, not petrol, gas. Let's see. But the car is imported. The car was imported in 2014. So the first 13 years it served its life somewhere else. Could have been Scandinavia, could have been Spain. It really makes it different, the climate. It's not that these cars rust, but of course in Scandinavia with harsh winters, these cars have to go through lots more of abuse, so to speak. But I would never go for a €1,000 S60. I mean, you spend 5 times that much, you're at 5K in euros, and then you're already kind of golden. But don't think these cars are cheap for maintenance, but in the long run, these are really durable. That's really the gist of it. So this is the D5 version. So this is the diesel. They're also very reliable. This is one of the cheapest D5s in the Netherlands here. So, you're 50,000 kilometers shy of 500,000 kilometers, which is not very big thing for a Volvo. Yeah, of course, it's used. It's not nothing, 400,000 kilometers, more than that. But it will still run, it will still drive. These cars are quite indestructible, so engine-wise they're bulletproof, chassis-wise they're quite bulletproof. I mean, rust is pretty much non-existent on these cars. It's a great long-distance cruiser, a 5-cylinder diesel. Mercedes also had these with the C-Class, the C270 CDI. That was also a 5-cylinder diesel. Certain engines are just very basic. Not a lot of things can go wrong, and they're over engineered. And the 5-cylinder Volvo is definitely one of them. The 5-cylinder diesels from Mercedes also, they got a great reputation. If you're a car guy, I think you are, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. But then you know of the existence of certain engines that are just made to last. And it doesn't mean that they don't need maintenance. Yes, they do. But if you do, they run forever. They run forever. Time for a service. Okay. So the power output of this 5-cylinder is 163 horsepower, which is, to my knowledge, a little bit strange. I think they only had two variants, 140 and 170, but could be that I'm wrong. Could be. But that's sufficient for a car like this. I mean, the weight of this car is 1500 kilos. It's not light, it's not super heavy, but this is the type of car that you can cruise. 100 kilometers an hour, which is 60 miles an hour. You can cruise it on the German Autobahn. It feels at home. Yeah, you cannot compete with fast Audis and Mercedes, but it doesn't matter. You put 160 kilometers an hour on the cruise control, and you will get there in peace. And it will do it, and it will do it happily every week. And that's the power. It's the for me, it's the ultimate underdog Volvo, and that's why I love the brand. It's not shouty, it's not nothing. Maybe newer Volvos are, but in my opinion, newer Volvos are not real Volvos. All right, moving on. (2002, 2002). Look at the mileages on them. I mean, it's fantastic. That really tells you something about the resilience of the car. Let's compare these two cars. So this is 2001, less kilometers on it. This is 2004, way more kilometers on it. And the prices are about the same. So what are you going to pick? And look at how much car you're going to buy for how little money. Why people don't buy an S60? Let's be real. People don't buy the S60 because of the style. A lot of people don't think it's very appealing. Fine. It's not very practical. Yes, it's not very big. The space in the car when you need lots of luggage, it's not sufficient. It's really a car that's pointed towards the driver and a small suitcase. Okay, one big suitcase, you know what I mean? But if you have two big suitcases, it will not fit. You need one big and a small one, it will fit, but then you still need one or two kids on the back. It's not a very practical car. That's why the S60 in prices are way below the V70, which we covered in last live stream, and that's why the prices for that car is higher. Basically, the technique and the chassis is kind of similar to a certain degree. But because of it's not being practical and probably looking at a bit of a boring car, the prices are low. But you could take advantage of this. The 5-cylinder has a nice sound. It has a nice engine characteristics. But yeah, it's not a Mercedes. It's not a BMW. If you find that so important, then yeah, of course, go for it. Here you have a 2-liter turbo, Summum. And Summum is basically, the highest spec level you can get. This is a 2005, so 5 years in its production run. A 2-liter turbo. We'll go to the power figures later. Yeah, what can I say? If you have this in the front door, I mean, it will serve you still for many years. Will you get excited by it? Probably not. Will you respect it? Definitely. Yeah. It's used, but it still works. This has probably 180 horsepower or something in that area, maybe less. It's still a nice car in many aspects, I think. This is really old school Volvo still. Okay, these are one of the most modern old school Volvos you can buy nowadays. That's how I should put it. Yeah, it has all its services. This is a different company, this is different. Well, this is the Volvo dealer, and then he goes over to another garage again, probably to save money. I have the same kind of issue at the moment with my Volvo, because when you go to the dealership, you pay quite a lot, and to be honest, I don't think the service is that great. I mean, just a simple oil change and some filter changes, and just checking the car for a few points before you know, 400 euros is nothing. And what did they do? They changed the oil and a few filters replacement, and for the rest, they didn't do nothing. If I need to change the brakes, the dynamo, or I need to change something with the oil filter housing, what I just talked about, I get additional bills. And for me, because I like the car and I'm willing and able to pay this, I'm doing it. But I'm also contemplating just maybe just go to a different garage, right? And when something is off with the car, I might go to the Volvo dealer, and then I might have to pay a little bit extra, but I don't know. I don't really see the added value in it yet, because it's not a 2 liter, it's not a 1.6 drive E, like the eco version of the diesels with lots of issues. It's not a lease car, it's a private owned car, it's paid off, it's, I'll probably, if I can keep it for another 10 years, I do. What else I'm gonna buy? If I buy a car, an A4, a 3 Series, or a C Class from the same era, it's gonna be way more expensive just because you have a brand car. And Volvo is maybe just a little bit below, but maybe even above. It really depends on how you look at it. If I think about a 2005 Audi A4, it looks dated. It's really not built that well. I mean, it can't stand the test of time like a Volvo does. Okay, let's move on. This video is not sponsored by Volvo. Let me put it like that. Let's move on. Let me get a sip. So the 2 liter had 170, 180 horsepower. This is a 2.4, so basically the 5-cylinder with a turbo, without it being the T5, which is actually the car that you want. Quite a lot of kilometers on it, but NIP is Nationale Autopass, which means every time the car goes for service, the license plate is entered in the computer, and then on top of that, the mileage is put in the computer. So each time it's saved, and it's a national database that every car garage can enter. That way they will not drive 80k a year and then put it back like 40k, so it only looks like it's been driving 40k a year, because mileage also does something with the car and the value, of course. That's why people try to manipulate it. But when it comes to a 5-cylinder, when it gets its service, when you drive it long distance on the highway, yeah, it's basically bulletproof. It is. And you should, of course, if you have the chance and the budget, put premium gas in it, and it will just run forever. I mean, there's so many examples of cars that reaching 700,000-800,000 kilometers, which is a lot, especially for a petrol engine. And the diesels, there are Volvos reaching almost a million kilometers, definitely. So this is the 5-cylinder with a turbo, and I want 200 horsepower. Okay. So a little bit under 1500 kilos. That makes it a nice car. It's probably quite torquey, and when you rev it, it gets a nice sound and probably gets the boost going on, a typical Volvo style. Yeah, I don't like the trailer hitch and I don't like the black wheels, but for the rest, it's all good. I don't think this is original, I don't think so, but overall it looks okay. Same kind of leather my brother has. Yeah, you got yourself a great car, but it's 2002. Can you imagine this car is 22 years old? I think it's ridiculous. But still, you get in it. I mean, you go back in time, and this is a real car. This is not a battery on wheels. And I understand that at a certain point we need to go that way, but this is what a real car feels like. The sound, the motion of the engine. Yeah, this is where we're heading. Let's see if we get anything special. So 2.4 all the way, either diesel or petrol. Yes, the 2-liter turbo, where I saw that. This is a T5, at least that's how they marketed that. That should have quite some horsepower. Let's go to the specifications first to see what they say. So, but over 400,000 kilometers, a 2.4 turbo, also 200 horsepower. Okay, so this is just a 2.4 turbo. It's not a T5. Stop it. When people say it's a qualitative car, like a qualitative auto means like it's a quality product, it's good. I don't know. Why would you mention it? The car should speak for itself. Let's go to the most expensive one. Let's not make this too long. Okay, 2000, yeah, this year. So they still do make the S60. And this is what is for sale here in this year. Design-wise, I really like the Volvos, but I don't know how they drive. They only got 2-liter petrols nowadays. Even Volvo stopped with diesels. I mean, with that, a lot of customers will just ditch you, And the Netherlands is not representative for Europe. It's just not. But still quite classy. It's really like a nice transition from the old to the new, definitely. I think the styling is fantastic. I think the interior design is fantastic. Yeah, I still do love Volvos, and if you have to drive lots of kilometers, I think this is a great car, definitely. But would you buy it as a consumer? No. But you see, this is probably a new car, so it's a tad under 70K, which is a lot. But then you get a new car. But this is not what we are looking for. Let's see if we're still in the middle of the light. I think so. No, we're fine. Great. Before. Let's see if we have anything special. We're gonna add another filter and we're gonna say summon. I hope I spelled that right. I think I butchered that. Just a second. We're gonna go back. Let's see. Low to high. We need to find a summon. Okay. The price. That's how you spell it. So summon is actually the top level spec of Volvo. And let me see if there's more of those out there. So we're going to close this one, put a filter on it, and we're going to search for summon here. You have 19 summons in the Netherlands. We go over them and then we close the live stream. Okay. Still almost 2K for biofuel. Biofuel for Volvo is gas or liquid petroleum gas and petrol. But this car doesn't run. So yeah, 2005, 2004. My brother also has a Summon. I hope this is one, but my brother's car looks a bit better, nicer rims. Same color though, but trailer hitch is just not good. It just shows that the car had to pull heavy items, otherwise you don't do that. And yeah, it can do it, but it's just an extra burden on the engine. Why would you do that? Yeah, it doesn't look anything special actually, but it probably has all the features. Has a disc player here, automatic gearbox. Yeah, anti-skid warning. All too familiar with that. It's just a broken. But this is the 140 horsepower version. I'm not sure if this is a Summon, but anyway. Just for the sake of this video, we will Wikipedia something, the Volvo S60, because I think it only came with 5 cylinders, to be honest. Especially the generation that we're talking about. So this is the first generation that ran until 2010, and I thought it was running until 2012. This is the generation we're talking about, the first one. So from the 2000 till 2010, 2 liter, 2.3, 2.4, i5, which is inline 5 cylinder. And they also had diesels. Let's go here to the engines. Inline 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So only 5 cylinders. So every time you see a S60 from this era, it has a 5 cylinder. There was nothing else. And people debate like why 5 cylinders are not used that often. Yeah, I think that's a good question. But the Audi made a name with 5 cylinders. Volvo did. A few Japanese brands did. I mean, literally, it's very easy. It's just between a 4 and a 6 cylinder, definitely. And it brings a certain, it brings just more low end torque to it, and it gives a nicer sound, giving it kind of a feeling that you are driving a little bit more exotic. And in the case of Volvos, they are also quite bulletproof. So we have this 140 horsepower version, and the 5 cylinder looks like this. In the 2000s, the late 90s, 2000s, this is like the first 5 cylinder from Volvo, dual head overcam shaft. But when I go to the S40, the one that I have, is basically the second generation Volvo S40. And we're gonna check here. So all the engines. I don't have a T4. Oh, this is the first generation. The second generation is my car, and we are going to the 2.4. This one with 140 horsepower. This is the engine that I have. Hopefully we have a picture. Come on, guys. Let's do this. Images. Yeah, the ones who saw my video knows that the top of the engine bay looks like this. Yeah, it looks like this. So this is the continuation in the second generation, and this is basically early 2000s, the continuation of the 90s 5-cylinder, and that's what I have in my car. It sounds a bit different. It has a different kind of power curve, but it's still quite reliable and very enjoyable to drive. I mean, if you are a little bit frugal with the gas pedal, you can stretch it up to 12 kilometers for each liter. But if you're really upon it, I mean, and in town, it's not very fuel efficient. According to American standards, you're still fuel efficient, but to normal standards. And here in the Netherlands, and sorry to say that, I mean, the Netherlands and the United States are two different countries. In America, still a lot of people drive V8. Here, because of the tax and the fuel prices, it's just not possible. So everyone is really, buying a car that can drive 20 kilometers on 1 liter of petrol. But in that regard, these cars are not very economical, but in the long run, what I also said in the Volvo review I made 1.5 years ago, it's just where you're going to spend money. You want to go to the garage and give them a couple of €100, or every time you drive, you put some new petrol in and enjoy it. And yeah, it might consume a little bit more petrol, but it's reliable, gets a nice sound, gives you great driving pleasure. Then for me, the latter is what I would choose. Let it use a little bit more fuel, fantastic. I don't drive that much, so for me, it doesn't matter. Every time I have the car, I want to enjoy it. It's reliable, it's a great companion, and that's how I look at it. Yeah, that's basically it, guys. I want to thank you for your time. I hope you have a great weekend. Again, I'm quite busy. I wanted to make a buying review, but I still have a lot of Volvos to cover, and for the rest of the year, you will probably get those buying reviews coming. I'm busy. I have to study again, and it's all good. But I just wanted to make another live stream because I like them so much, and I see the reactions on it are also great. And yeah, I'm just going to keep on doing those. So thanks again, and have a great weekend.